Rover, brilliant, but it is bleak and it is brutal. I struggled to wait for the redeeming moment in it. How was it making it?
I mean, I'm talking to everyone and they're all saying how bleak it is, but I mean, my part in my head, you know, he's had such a terrible life before the story starts, but this is actually the happiest moment he's had. You know,
he has had a terrible life.
And to me, it's just sort of a little road trip with a new friend.
There is definitely that sense that he sees the Guy Pearce character as his new friend, and he sort of starts almost to come out of himself.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's my guy as a. He's just been so profoundly bullied by people. He hasn't even really known another aspect of his life. People, you know, whenever he's opened his mouth, people have just told him to shut up or slapped him his whole life. And even though Eric, in this very aggressive way, but he's actually gives him a little bit of self-esteem because he's forcing him to speak up for himself, or just think for himself. I think the mechanism Ray has for thinking is he's just been a dog following people around, so it's kind of very satisfying for him to try and please someone else.
Was it satisfying to play?
Definitely, it's like really fun part. Kind of, there were no particular parameters of how to play it, and so you could just turn up at work having absolutely no idea what you're going to do, and especially with Guy, I never had any idea what Guy was going to do either, so it's pretty exciting to play. And
this film couldn't be more different in that sense from Twilight, of course.
Yeah, it couldn't really be more different, yeah.
It's hard to see, or do you anticipate your audience from Twilight coming across with you, or in a way you're looking to sort of end that relationship?
No, not at all. I mean, I never tried to get an audience in the first place. I mean, it's sort of just all been luck, and you know, I thought the movie was interesting. With the first Twilight, I thought there was something interesting about it, and also I was auditioning for everything. It's just like you're doing the jobs you get, and then making the most of them. And I don't know. I think it's impossible to think about what an audience wants. I can't really think what anybody wants. I mean, you always think if you're doing stuff for the right reasons, just kind of challenging movies that, you're not doing it for just money or something, a kind of thin reason, then hopefully at least one other person will like it. But you can't predict what an audience is going to do ever, really.
I mean, at any point, did you yourself see where Twilight was going in terms of what it would do for you?
No, I still don't really know what it's done for me, to be honest. I mean, I think I kind of, I got a little bit detached as it started really exploding, because I didn't want to go crazy, and so I was more of a spectator to the whole situation. And it was a sort of a bystander.
And when you look at it from that bystander point of view, I mean, do you regard it as a sort of bittersweet experience for you? I mean, obviously it made you a lot of money. It's given you a degree of power.
The whole experience was really great. And the movies are really fun to do as well. I mean, the whole situation is just like, it's funny seeing, I mean, I can't even believe half the stuff that happened. I mean, like being in the Munich Olympic Stadium, I remember when I was like 22 years old, and there's like 40,000 people we're supposed to do like a Q&A, and there's 40,000 people just screaming, and you're like, what is going on? I mean, all these absolutely bizarre experiences which very, very few people would ever experience. It was like super, super, super fun, but intense.
And how did you stop yourself from going crazy, as you put it?
I just thought the surreality of the whole situation. I mean, I didn't even really set out to be an actor, and I didn't even do drama GCSE. I mean, it's like, in fact, my drama teacher told me not to do it.
You're managing. That's it. It's going okay.
So it just seemed like, the craziest thing in the world. And now, when you're afforded the opportunity to do it, I'm basically just recreating my DVD shelf from when I was 17, like working with people who I liked when I was a kid.
And that fame, which for you was at an extraordinary level, I mean, it's fair to say you're quite popular with the young ladies. I mean, has that been a sort of blessing or a burden, would you say?
I mean, to be honest, I don't even really know. I mean, you kind of, there are definitely some kind of fun aspects of it. But yeah, I mean, it's a kind of mixture. I mean, I'm not sure what it's done really professionally. I mean, because I mean, I guess I was working before. I mean, you just sort of audition for stuff. I mean, I'm not entirely sure if it's even easier to get jobs. I mean, you still have to audition for that, for this. I'm still auditioning for it.
I suppose you are in a position to call up if you fancy doing something now, which presumably you weren't in the beginning.
I mean, not really, because the people you really want to work with wouldn't want to do it for that reason anyway. I mean, I guess you can get financing for, you know, if I wanted to do a movie which looked almost identical to Twilight, I'd probably get financing for it from someone. But the people I want to work with still, you know, I haven't proved myself in too many different environments. So I would want people to want to audition me. So I guess it hasn't really changed that much, really.
In terms of, I suppose, you know, there's not a great deal of sympathy for film stars, I suppose, who are hounded by whether it's thousands of young girls or the paparazzi. But I mean, it is, presumably living through it, quite tricky at times.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, everyone's got kind of lame aspects of their life. I mean, but what I've realised over the last few years, because if you complain about something, the vitriol which you get back from it when they're like, "How dare you complain about something?" I think what people don't get is like, I think actors will say something in an interview when they're just basically like bitching and moaning about, like, in the same way you bitch and moan about any job, but you don't really realise. I think a lot of the time people don't realise they're actually doing an interview.
So it sounds as if it's quite difficult, even, you know, you to find somewhere to live where you weren't hounded. Yeah,
I mean, that's one of the annoying things about that, because you can't really live in London because people stay outside your door. There aren't really gated communities in London, which has made my life like profoundly different in LA. Like when I had people waiting outside my house, I was losing my mind. And now it's kind of...
What is that feeling like at that moment? You're sitting in your own home.
Yeah, you're in prison, and it's kind of it's great because it's like, you know, you have like 5 cars of people outside your house, and they're literally 24 hours a day. It's crazy, and you're so helpless to it as well. And I think also just being like a guy, like it's so emasculating. Like the fact that like there's a bunch of guys who can look at you and say and do whatever they want to, and you can't do anything. And like all you want to do is punch them in the face, and that's what they want. In what sense? That you mean guys goad you? Oh yeah, 100%. And like, I mean, that's literally the only thing they want. And it's stalkers with cameras, and you know, they're saying, "Oh, I'm not a stalker, I'm a paparazzi." It's like, oh, that makes a massive difference. Yeah, but you know, you kind of figure out ways to deal with it. I mean, like I don't go out anywhere where I can get photographed anymore. Well, I mean, that must be incredibly limiting. It is, but it's the anxiety you get rid of, you know, not looking over your shoulder all the time. It's just, I'm so much more calm than I was like 2 years ago. Isn't that still a bit like being in prison then? Yeah, but it's a prison of your choosing. And everyone's got some kind of prison. And like, you know, it's much, you know, I like my prison to be the one I've decorated. I mean, it's interesting looking at the film because it's filmed in the outback, miles from everywhere. You're living in a shipping container surrounded by flies. I mean, it sounds hell, but you quite liked it. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, literally, it's funny as I've gotten older, man. That aspect, just having anonymity, it's very difficult to realize how valuable anonymity is. I mean, just walking down the street and not worrying about stuff is so unbelievably important, and it doesn't matter about anything else. You don't need anything else. You didn't have much else by the sounds of it out there. But yeah, but just being able to stand and just, you know, looking in hundreds of miles around you and just knowing that you're doing what you want to do, and no one's witnessing it. You can be yourself. It's amazing. Was that exhilarating in a way? yeah, I mean, I'm so happy out there. I mean, I would literally, I think it'd be different if you didn't have a crew around. I was thinking about staying for another week afterwards. I've been realizing, like, I think it'd be a different situation if I didn't have everyone with me.
It starts to look a bit strange. Maybe.
So you're really alone. Like, but yeah, no, it was great shooting out there.
And I mean, in some ways, it's obviously huge film stars. It's always been the way that there are fans obsessively seeking you out. But do you think social media, in a sense, has made that very much worse? Someone spots you and within minutes it's hundreds and thousands of people, in your case probably, know where you are.
Yeah, it definitely changed things. When Twitter became big, like, you used to be able to kind of be alright, and then, like, it's like no matter what you do. And the camera phones as well, that have changed everything. Yeah, it kind of really, really markedly changed things.
And I suppose you were saying about earlier on about how vitriolic people are when you complain about it or when you talk about it. I suppose the argument is that you make a lot of money and it's the price you pay.
I know. Well, I mean, literally, it's like, I think it's just internet people anyway. I'm also not entirely sure if the people who have comments on the internet, if they actually are real people. It's just like a machine that makes them. So I don't know anyone who's ever done a comment on anything on the internet.
But do you avoid reading it now?
Oh, no, it's impossible not to. I mean, literally, if someone's whispering about you in the next room, you're going to listen to it. But at the same time, I'm not trying to change anyone's opinion particularly, which is what I've realised over the years. It's just like, I don't care. I mean, it's sort of, you care what people are saying, but really, you don't want, after someone said that, you don't actually want them to like you anyway. You just want to judge them back.
And you've had to live out sort of breakup of a big relationship in public. I mean, did that make it worse, or did that really not matter?
No, I mean, it's just kind of, it's all the same. It's like your reality is so detached from that. It's a totally different situation. The only connection which has to reality is when, like, a story's happening, whatever. There are just more paparazzi around, and so it's higher intensity. But there's no, like, no one knows anything about you really. I mean, it's just, and I've tried really hard to make that. To make that separation between my real life and my kind of public persona. Because
of trying to, keep out of being hounded down the road. I mean, it sounds like you stay in a lot. Is it lonely?
I mean, I don't really stay in a lot, but like I just go to places where, like, don't allow photographs and stuff, because that's it really. I mean, if people are just talking about things, then it doesn't matter. It's like it's all just made up. There's just a few places in LA which just genuinely don't allow photographs, and just go there.
You talk about how it would be difficult to live here, but you've also said in the past that you like people who make things, and that is very difficult in England. Friends of yours have had to give up because it's so difficult. What do you mean by that?
It's expensive. I mean, I think that's why. I mean, that's what I kind of noticed. A lot of my friends are doing music and stuff, and there's just I guess, I mean, it's only really about, like, the entertainment industry. If you're in LA, every time you go out, there's someone it's just something's happening. Whereas, just the industry is so much smaller in London, and it's so expensive to, like, put on a gig or do anything. It's like, it's just difficult to get the ball rolling. I mean, that's what I found when I haven't been for a significant amount of time, for like 6 years now, so maybe it's different. But I did notice that when I was there, and it's sad because I remember when I was 18, maybe it's changed again, but I remember when I was 18, there was an energy and, like, things seemed like you could do things. But then a few years later, it just got so expensive that no one can you can get a flat or anything.
But do you think it stifles creativity here?
100%. I mean, that's like I remember. I mean, whenever there's a new, like, even in, like, East London now, like, I remember when I was 18, 19, you could live there being an art student or something, and now it's just like you need flats like millions of pounds. I mean, everything's millions of pounds. I mean, I don't know, maybe I just don't know where the cool arty areas are now.
Thanks very much for joining us, Rob.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.